because the average tenure on death row in this sick state of ours is 20 years. Now, there are lawyers who made a fortune off death penalty cases. You got to understand, there's a lot of money involved in the appeal of death penalty cases. They don't all do it because they have any sympathy for them at all. This is a full-time job for many of these left-wing loser lawyers who can't get a job at a regular firm. All right, so we voted, and it says that the state of California shall make sure that those convicted of, crimes and found guilty and gone through appeals shall be executed within 5 years. So a few stinking judges on the California Supreme Court, left-wing goombas, really bad ones, really bad. You know what the word elitist means? Filth like this. These filthy, dirty bums on the California Supreme Court, there's no other word to describe them. They're the lowest of the grubyon lawyer who politicized and got themselves a stinking job in the Supreme Court. You know what they said? They said the word shall is not a directive, it's a suggestion. We shall decide what it actually means. Is making me clench. What the hell is the good of voting if a few rotten, stinking leftist judges can override the votes of millions? They did this to us before. There shall be no racial considerations in hiring in state positions. I worked very hard for that 20 years ago. One rotten, stinking judge who came over from the ACLU, Felton Henderson. I remember his name to this day. May he rot in you-know-where. Felton Henderson, one rotten, stinking left-wing judge, with the stroke of a pen, nullified the votes of 6 million people. We passed Prop 66, said the court shall resolve capital appeals in 5 years, more than twice as fast as its current pace. But the majority of rotten, stinking judges on the California Supreme Court just ruled 5-2 to reinterpret the language as a directive or a recommendation to work faster, not to do what it says. They said a mandatory deadline would undermine the court's authority as a separate branch of government. You are wrong. Time to go. That was written by Justice so-called Carol Corrigan, the opinion. Can you believe this? Can you believe what judges are doing in this country? Prized. Don't you know what lawyers are like? A judge is an aggressive, greedy lawyer who used politics to become a judge. And the more corrupt they are, the higher they go. By and large, that's how it works. So there it is. We vote, and what we get is nothing. They go around it. They make the law what it isn't. 20 years ago, I warned on this radio program when I was only a local talk show, so I shouldn't, because it was a very important position for me. I shook up San Francisco and the country, for that matter. People had never heard anything like it. That was back in 94, 95. One of the liberal judges, and what's happening is it's coming true, unfortunately, with all these riots and rallies. Let's see, the KKK. I warned them what would happen. Our vote at the ballot box, you're liable to face the bullet box, the ammo box. That's just how I put it. I'm denying people their due process. You keep stealing their birthright. You keep telling them to drop dead because they're of a certain race. I'm warning you, you're going to have hellfire in this nation. There's only so much BS that people will take. And we're past that point in American history. These rotten, stinking judges must understand. They're not God Almighty. They're just stinking lawyers in a black robe. Sanitized, homogenized, pasteurized. So we voted. Passed by a wide margin, by the way. Voter-approved initiative. Throughout the state now, you see, because it wasn't just in San Francisco. It was statewide. Voter-approved Supreme Court justice go around, and they say, well, Prop 66 said the court shall resolve capital appeals in 5 years. They said, well, the word shall doesn't mean anything. We'll decide what shall mean. I have no other statement to make at this time. I will not say another word. Executions are now likely to resume within a year. Another year. But a lawyer who challenged Prop 66, challenged it, said that the ruling will allow executions to resume at a faster pace. Struck it down. Unbelievable to me. She said that justice should have invalidated the entire ballot measure. You hear? Because the people should have no vote, should have no voice. This is sickening. Okay, my heart is pounding right now. I wanted to have a good time today. Violence emerging in America as it is. When I see people being marginalized and their cultural identity being spit upon, actors coming down, and everyone who opposes a left-wing fanaticism called a Nazi, I'm telling you, there's only a few places left for people to go. God's almighty, they think that they're above the law. Do you have any idea what they just did? California has the nation's largest death row, with sentence verdicts now take more than 20 years to resolve. That's because the vermin in the legal profession have made that happen. 66. That is people who were murdered, the survivors. And this is what's going on. This is sickening. When you want to read it, you can read it yourself. It's a lawless state, Europe. A bunch of Nancy's ran over Europe. They can't even protect their own people from the Muslim invaders. Don't tell me what I should think. Don't tell me and lecture me. Get up. Okay. I said what I had to say. Go around, laughing at you, mocking you, making a mockery of you, the ACLU. I told you how to save this nation. You have to start with the lawyers. I told you that. I told Donald Trump that. I send emails. I don't get an answer, but I told him that the ACLU has to go. Statutes. For that matter, all the funding of Black Lives Matter and Antifa has to be investigated under RICO statutes. And once you find the funding, you arrest those who are supplying the money. You cut it off. You know where it all goes, don't you? You know where most of it comes from? Do you know how many different terrorist left-wing groups in America are funded under various nice-sounding names by George Soros?